This episode is brought to you by the outstanding shows of the You Run Podcast Network. From TV to true crime and everything in between, the network is your home of entertainment. So don't delay. Join in with the fun at yourunpodcast.com today.
Mark, no joke today.
Oh, finally.
Instead, I decided to write a limerick.
How on point.
I thought so. So here we go. There once was a man from a village who sipped on craft beer because he's privileged. His bald head aglow as he hosted the show with opinions he clearly did pillage.
You want to die tonight?
The dad jokes he tells sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. The passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts for a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled.
Hello and welcome to the You Run podcast, where we review movies of the. I tried to do everything rhyming.
You deserve that. You deserve that.
I really did. My name is Scott.
My name is Mark.
And we review horror movies here. Well, I use that term lightly this week, but we'll talk about that shortly. If you want to be part of an interactive horror movie review show, because that's what we are, go and follow us on social media. We're at You Run Podcast. If you find yourself on Instagram while you're there, also give Mark a follow. He is at Reviews from the Crypt and at VHS from the Crypt. And if you're watching us, we now have this really cool thing where we put stuff up like visually for you to read it.
I like that. It's very snazzy. Do you have to click that as you're saying it? Because that's a lot of coordination I don't think I could do.
It is. See, I can do it at the moment. When we get further into the episode, it probably won't be as slick as it is right
because
now.
I'd be my brain and my actions wouldn't correlate at the same time.
Yeah, it kind of works. Yeah, it's working at the moment. We'll see after a couple of beers if it still works the same. You can get in touch with the show. Send us an email, yourunpodcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can send us a voicemail. You can do that on Instagram or X, and we have a lot of those. We've moved those from where they were in the show, which was now, to much later. So we'll do our review, and then you get to hear all of the abuse that's been hurled at Mark this week.
It's really jarring doing that at the end now.
Yeah, I quite like it, though, because I know people really enjoy that bit. And I know there's sometimes we review really bad movies, and they don't stick around because they don't want to hear the review of the really bad movie. So by doing this, people either stick around or they fast forward to that bit. Either way, we get a full listen, according to all
but the
of our
problem
stats.
I'm having with it is that I get drunker and drunker as the show goes on. So by the time you play people's information at the end, I'm really like semi-drunk, and then I get a little bit waspy, as I did last week with Heather.
Yeah, which is great, because then that just leads to more messages. It's the right call for the show. We are running a competition at the moment. It's to get 3 pieces of merchandise from our store, completely free. All you need to do is leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. That's that simple, just to enter. If you've already done that, which lots of you have, like since we've been running this, our Spotify reviews have shot up, which is fabulous. If you've done that already, you can still enter every single week. All you need to do is leave us a comment on the Spotify episode. So on Spotify, you can now comment on there. You'll go into a draw. Our first episode back in the new year, big cool spinny wheel thing. We'll pick a winner. We'll get your address and we'll ship you out your prizes. It's cool.
Amazing. I'm really distracted by this new feature you've got going on. I feel like I'm in like a newsroom at the moment, and I'm trying to pinpoint as and when you're making the clicks and how smoothly you're doing them.
At the moment, it's very smooth, and we've got some for later. But That's our competition. If you've never listened to the show before, we give you a brief synopsis of the movie. We then go into an unformatted conversation that bounces all over the place where we talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. We're very opinionated. It's just what we do here. We give you some facts. We give you some scores. We do some interactive features. This week is Caption This, where all of our wonderful listeners captioned this image. We had some baggers this week. So let's get into this. So remember last week when we reviewed Candyman and I said that
Yes.
I found some of that culturally inappropriate? Scrap that. But forget what I said, because like this movie makes Candyman look woke as fuck. Like I don't even know.
I don't know
Well,
where to start, so don't look at me because I have no idea how to dissect this movie in the slightest.
Well, I'll give a synopsis, and that might give us some grounding of where to begin. So we're looking at the most 90s horror movie released in the 2000s ever made. It's racist, it's sexist, it's transphobic, it's culturally offensive. Uh, some places it's downright outrageous what it says between the lines. But also, this is a movie that has a huge cult following and is widely loved and appreciated, which I find insane.
Yep.
Warwick Davis returns for his fifth appearance as the dreaded Leprechaun, but this time he's in the hood. We see Warwick feud with a record producer played by Ice-T. Like Ice-T is the only thing in this movie worth talking about. He gathers a harem of hookers to do his bidding and murders a number of people with one goal in mind. All he wants to do is simply reclaim his lucky flute.
Oh, beautiful.
All of this is set to a 90s ghetto LA backdrop as we follow an up-and-coming rap group rapping about positivity in a bid to make it big time by winning a competition in Las Vegas. Once they realize the power of the flute, they're going to win unless the leprechaun can stop them.
Fuck me, it's a leprechaun.
Right, well, let's just break it down with the Leprechaun because I want to know what your history is with this franchise. How many of these have you seen?
I have seen all of them.
Oh man, I feel sorry for the time you've spent in your life watching these movies. I really do.
There are things in the Leprechaun franchise that I like. So I like the first 4 movies. They do a very good job of building a lore around the Leprechaun of what he can do and what he can't do. When they
Which
got to
one's
Leprechaun, this is 5.
Right, okay.
So when they got to this movie, like the flute is new. He can now magically hypnotize people. He can turn in, like, make people transform into different things. Like they literally just went, yeah, everything he can do, none of that works for this script. So we're going to throw that all away and just give him brand new powers. Like, fuck everything. Like, and it rubbed me the wrong way so badly.
And that's where I was kind of going because my whole knowledge of the Leprechaun franchise is Leprechaun 1. So I've
Yeah.
gone straight from the first one into this. And it was weird. I'll be honest with you. It was weird. I didn't get the flute thing, and I was like, is that a regular occurrence? And then I couldn't remember the ending of the first one, and I didn't know if the necklace that they used to entrap him in stone was a regular reoccurring thing. And then I was also like, is he basically Darth Vader in all of the movies, or is it just this one that he has the Force? Because I couldn't figure out what was going on.
It is just this one. I don't know if that's something that's kind of like just bled over in Warwick Davis from his time working in Star Wars, but like it
He's
is
literally just he can stop people mid-flow, like stop, like Darth Vader. I was like, I don't remember him being able to do that in the first film.
no. See, his powers in this have massively increased, and the thing is, in this, like in all the other movies, his motivation is he wants to get his gold. Someone's stolen his gold. That's woken him up. He wants his gold back. It's that simple. I can understand that premise. In this, someone steals his gold. So he kills a couple of people, but then he wants his flute. And then when he gets to the hood and realizes there's weed, beer, and prostitutes, he now doesn't care about any of his gold or
He
his
wants
flute that
domination.
much. Yeah, there's a point in this movie where he's not pursuing the flute anymore. He's just held up in a
He just
nightclub.
wants to run a strip club.
Yeah, he's just running a strip club, smoking weed, and just getting high all the time. Like, it's the
It's
weirdest
wild.
movie.
Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre, man. One thing that I wanted to ask you as well, since you've seen the others, is this movie opens like a children's TV show. Like it has that whole Warwick Davis monologue, which I remember from the first film. And I was like, shit, do they do that in every movie?
Yeah,
They
pretty
do.
much.
Because it looked like it was the same thing. It looked like the same shot for shot thing from the first film, but with just a different Warwick Davis monologue over the top. So I was like, is this how every Leprechaun movie starts?
Yeah, and like there are some saving graces of the Leprechaun franchise. I don't hate this franchise. I find elements of the earlier movies very funny. Back to the Hood, which is the one after this, does a much better job than this does of landing those jokes, because this come out in early 2000, it come out in the year 2000, so around the same sort of time as things like Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood. It was trying to ride that wave of like everyone was listening to gangster rap, and it tried to get in on that, but it just fucked it up. Like everything it tried, they start strong with how hard they're going to lean into how badly they fuck it up with the guy who pulls multiple different weapons from his afro.
And again, that's like the completely weird, like tonal inconsistency in this movie. Like it starts off like it's going to be a spoof, like Menace to Society. Oh no, not Menace to Society. I do apologize. It's don't be a menace to society while drinking your juice in the hood. That's the kind of vibe that I took from that opening monologue with Ice-T, and he's pulling out baseball bats from his afro and shit. And I was like, oh, okay, I can get on board with this shit, you know. But like, that's it. That's the only real moment of sort of satire, Austin Powers level kind of comedy that this movie brings. And then after that, everything else changes.
Yeah, I mean, Ice-T has some horrific lines that he says in this that you go,
I like him. I like him, and I don't just like him as an actor. I actually like him as a character in this film as well.
I think he's a great character. He's a great actor, whether you like him or not. He is a good actor. And at the end of the day, he was the guy from Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
What's your knowledge on Ice-T? Like, what is he a rapper himself as Ice-T, or was he part of a collective? Because I don't know the history of Ice-T, but I just know that he's now got this career out of nowhere. But I've never heard a single Ice-T song in my life. I've never been like, oh, that's a banger, that's Ice-T. You know, like to me, he was like the knockoff Ice Cube growing up, and I've never heard any of his music. And it's just all of a sudden he's like this icon within the ghetto era. And I don't know who he is, other than I can instantly recognize him and be like, yeah, that's Ice-T. But I don't know who he is or what he does.
No, and if I'm honest, I don't either. I think he was part of one of the groups, but I don't know, or one of the collectives like Wu-Tang Clan. He wasn't part of Wu-Tang Clan, but
no, he definitely wasn't Wu-Tang.
No,
I know,
but
he weren't Wu-Tang, man.
But I think he was. I think he was part of a group like that. But again, like I've not heard any of his stuff. Like I'll be honest, my main knowledge of him comes from Special Victims Unit, is where I know him from. But his dialogue in this is horrific. Whoever wrote the script for it, he hits a line which is incredibly offensive, where he calls Warwick Davis a maniacal midget motherfucker, and I laughed because I was like, you can't say that. Like that's so offensive, but he just leans into it so hard. You still Googling?
Holy shit. Sorry, man. Ice-T co-founded the heavy metal band Body Count, which I am very familiar with. It was basically a mix between rap and heavy metal music, and it was fucking awesome. They had some right bangers. I had no idea. Maybe this dude deserves more respect than I'm giving him. You're like, oh, it's the guy from Law and Order. No, it's a dude from Body Count.
He is awesome in this. He's the best thing in it. And like the bit where they're in his office where the young rap group go to see him and he's like starts dismissing them because they won't change their ways. When he's on the phone, I desperately want to know who he's on the phone to. He's like, I will come down there. I'll rip off. What is it? I'll come down there. I'll cut off your dick. I'll feed it to my dog, and then I'll set the shit on fire.
Oh yeah,
I was like,
you better be having sex tonight because later on I'm going to come down and cut your dick off. I'm like, all right.
But it's not relevant to the movie. It's just to establish that he is the hard guy.
And I think they do a good job of that, though, because the moment where people, it's a scene, it's that scene in particular anyway, where the guys are like, oh no, because they're trying to push this whole clean rap and progressive rap and change the environment rap. And then he's like, no, round here we're all about breaking necks and shooting bitches and they're like, oh yeah, we're not about that. And he's like, get the fuck out of my office. And these other partners like, no, please, we can do this. Just let me talk to my boy. He's like, did you not hear me? Get the fuck out of here. And that was a genuinely intimidating scene. I was like, holy shit, like I believe you, man. Like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and like good for them for sticking to their morals of like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Like, I thought that was a good element for them. In case any big producers or big like podcast labels are listening, me and Mark will sell ourselves quite happily. If you want us to review Care Bear movies, we do not have the same scruples that these people in this movie do. We'll do that for you.
No, fuck this shit. I'll sell out for 20 quid. Give me it.
Yeah,
give me the money.
But to be fair, that's how I got you on the show in the first place. And I still haven't sent it to you. Let's talk about Warwick. Let's talk about the actual character, the Leprechaun. Where the fuck do I start with this?
The level of respect I've lost for Warwick Davis after witnessing this movie is unreal. Like, if like me, you'd only seen the first Leprechaun movie and your real sort of knowledge of Warwick Davis comes from the Harry Potter movies or the Star Wars movies, and you're like, oh, that's that real cool guy that was in those really successful movies. He's an icon. He's a gem of British society. Don't watch Leprechaun in the Hood, because when you see this little fellow degrade himself in such a manner to make this movie, you are like, dude has got rent to pay. And he has literally sold his soul to the devil making this movie. He is just such. He's so. I think, like, as a father now, I have children. If I was Warwick Davis, who has kids, and his kids look at his career, and people talk about Leprechaun in the Hood, they'd be like, "Oh, Dad, why did you do that, man? That's embarrassing for you."
Yeah, the thing is, I've seen Warwick do lots of interviews. I watched him on Idiot Abroad, where he went away with Carl Pilkington, and he is he's very strong in his beliefs about how everyone should be represented properly, be it smaller people, be it different races, different sexes. He's very much like, no, everyone should be treated with respect and like put in the best light that they possibly can. And in this movie, I'm like, man, like all of your morals went out of the window when they went, how many zeros do you need on the check, Mr. Davis? And it really, I
Sorry, I'm not interested in being friends with midgets. Midgets piss me off.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I have a bit of a thing. I kind of get it. But what I will say about him as a person, he's not like, I love that season of Idiot Abroad where him and Carl Pilkington went on those mad adventures. Like, it's really funny, and he doesn't take himself very seriously. And I also follow him on social media, and he posts some quite funny stuff regarding himself and his height and things like that. Like, he likes to joke about it. But the way that he does that in real life is a relatable context. But here, it's almost like he isn't aware that he is a laughing stock of the situation, or he is aware of it, but he's getting paid enough money to sacrifice his soul in order to do so. And I'm just like, I just want to pick him up off the screen and be like, dude, don't do this to yourself. You're better than this.
The thing is, though, it's not just him; it's the entire cast. So, like, if you look at the black characters in this, every single one of them is a terrible racial stereotype of a gangster or of a young up and coming artist willing to do anything, and they'll steal. And like, then you look at the shop owners. You've got the Chinese shop owner is the most racist character I have. Like, he's one step away from being the guy who owns the shop in Gremlins. That's how much they stereotyped him down.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And even not just that, where did my mind go then? Right, perfect. What is the deal with this? Old, blind, black women in movies.
I don't
Right,
know.
like this was like a thing in like the late 90s and early 2000s. They even do it more recently in the latest Deadpool movie. It's like if you're an old black woman, you have to be blind for comedic value, and I just don't get it. I don't get
No.
it. Like,
No, that was the main guy's mum, and like
it was
her
his main
being
guy's
just
grandma, yeah, and she's like
yeah,
blind.
like,
I don't get me wrong;
and
it
he,
makes for some comedic moments, but like, it's such a stereotype that I don't know where it's come from, but it's so prevalent in so many movies from this time period where like everybody's grandma who is old and black is blind, and it like it's
yeah,
like I don't get it. Like it's like
even
all
though
the black women in Detroit who are over 40 have just randomly turned
just
blind.
randomly blind. Even when you look at the preacher, there's a black preacher in this. Even he is stereotyped to the point that he is corrupt and he has a gun under his lectern. It's like, oh man, like you couldn't even like leave that alone. Should we
Yeah, the
talk
way that
about?
he's so easily tempted by the money as well. Like he's all this,
Yeah,
I'm a black man, I'm a gospel preacher, choir guy. I want to have this in God's house, and then they just wave a couple of dollars in his face, and he's like, "Yeah, so where do we go?" Like,
yeah.
man, like
I'll
the
keep
stereotypes are so insulting.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, don't worry, I'll keep the leprechaun locked in the vault. It's absolutely fine. If I'm getting money, yeah, sure. Um, we're going to have to talk about the trans character, and I'm not even sure how to address what they done to the trans community in this. That it's just fucking awful, like awful the way they portrayed this trans woman. That is clearly just a guy who's dressed up. And I looked up the actor; he's not trans at all. He's just a guy in drag, and he looked uncomfortable doing
Yeah,
it.
he was probably a comedian. He was probably a comedian trying to get into Hollywood, and it's like the whole Cat Williams thing. If you want to be a black man breaking into Hollywood, you have to dress up in drag. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
familiar with that whole Cat Williams thing.
yeah, I am. I am familiar with it. The thing is, it does. Like, everyone in this film, it feels very much like if I do this and I'm in a movie with Warwick Davis and Ice-T, this might be my break. And like when you see all the girls playing the strippers or the hookers or whatever they're meant to be, they all look uncomfortable with what they're doing. Like that, especially when Warwick Davis is like being picked up and lifted by him, and they have to leer all over him. You can see they're like, I don't know if I'm into this, but it'll get me another movie deal.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how it feels when you're watching it, to be honest with you.
It does. Are there any high points in this for you? Are there any bits that you did find funny?
I mean, there are various high points across the whole movie. I like Ice-T's character quite a lot. I was genuinely engaged. To be honest with you, I was genuinely engaged in the whole they robbed Ice-T and then he was hunting them and they were trying to get this rap career off the ground. Like the story itself was actually quite interesting in a way. It was just presented very sort of poorly with the whole mismatched tone of the movie. I really found the scene in the gospel church hilarious. And it was probably the only time in this movie that I actually got a chuckle out of me, where they go in there and they're asked to sing gospel music at this
Yeah,
what do you even call like a Sunday service? It's
yeah.
like the singer had dropped out, so they had to fill in, and they start like dropping into like their raps, like I can't even think of it. Mary is a hoe and shit like that. And it was like the awkwardness of the presentation of that particular song was hilarious, and they kept trying to drop it back into actual gospel singing. I thought that was really, really funny. Like, that really tickled me, and that was the one time it actually got a genuine laugh out of me. But considering this is a comedy movie in essence, the rest of it just completely left me stone faced. I didn't particularly like it at all. The horror as well. Like, this is a horror franchise. Where was the horror elements of this movie other than a couple of cool practical effects scenes?
Where were the kills? Like, all of the kill, every single kill happens off screen, and you get to see the aftermath of it. And I didn't think the aftermath was that great on any of the kills.
The only one that we got that was actually pretty cool on screen was Ice-T's bodyguard, and they catch him in that hallway in the Methodist church or whatever it is. I don't know if it's Methodist church. I don't know why that came to my mind then. They catch him in that hallway, and he like does the Darth Vader thing again, but like rips out his stomach.
Yeah.
And you get the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing where the camera comes through as Ice-T's looking at it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but then they ruin it with Warwick Davis popping his head up the other side and going, "Oh!" And it's like,
I walk down the road. In the most insulting Irish accent I've ever heard.
Come on, if you're racist and you know it, clap your hands. What the fuck, bro?
But yeah, there's hardly anything in this that redeems it for me. However, overall, I laughed a lot at this movie. Not because the writers and the producers got anything right. I laughed at the movie a lot. A lot of times when
I didn't, and that's kind of what I was expecting to get from it. I was expecting to get that level of it's so stupid, it's funny, but I wasn't. I was stone faced throughout the whole thing. I was like, this is just so ridiculous in tone and so insulting in terms of its actual presentation of people. I was like,
of everything.
Of everything, yeah, everything. Like, it's so offensive. And I'm not one of those people who's like got a stick up his ass and I'm like, I find that offensive. I'm not a Karen by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I can laugh at things wholeheartedly and be like, yes, that is kind of wrong, but I think it's hilarious. This just didn't do that for me, and I thought it would. That's what I was going to be like gearing myself up for going in. I was like, yes, this is going to be really, really bad, but it's going to be bad in a way that I'm going to find hilarious. And it just didn't. It just didn't deliver on that front, and I just don't know where the success of this movie comes from, the cult following that seems to be coming from it. Because, like, I grew up in this era. I grew up watching like the Friday movies. That was my wheelhouse. I went through like that weird phase of like a teenage white boy listening to Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and DMX and wearing Timberland boots that were 2 sizes too big for me, thinking I was like part of the gang. I lived that era. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had that phase in my life, and I was into all of those movies. And I just don't imagine this coming out around that same time and people being so hooked to it, which is probably why I've never heard of it before. Even though I knew it was a succession in the franchise, being a horror fan, I've never heard of it being so highly regarded. And I feel like that's the kind of place it would sit in. Like, if I was to know about this movie, it would have been throughout that era of my life, because I was still a horror fan. I was just kind of going through a thing.
Yeah, and
I just
it begs the question, how much of the love comes from this is from nostalgia, is from people when they're 13, 14, maybe 16, 17, having a couple of beers, maybe smoking a joint with some friends and watching this in a stoned, drunk environment. Because I imagine if you and me had watched this together and we'd sunk a crate of beers between us, we probably would have had a much better time with this than I did watching this with Lisa, who every 2 minutes looked up from her book, looked at me, shook her head in disapproval, and then looked back at her book.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, usually, because I like those kind of movies, I seek them out. That's kind of like my thing, and I can genuinely sense more times than not that this would be really funny with a pizza and a load of beers and and a bit of weed, and like that's the kind of thing that I like, do you know? But I can sense that on the sober brain and be like, this would be fucking brilliant in that moment. I never once got that from this. And I don't think that even if I was under those sort of substances, I would have even then been able to be like, yeah, this is so funny, man. Did you see that bit there? Because it just didn't. It just hit me stone walled, man. I was just like, that's just ridiculous. That's just pointless. This is not funny. And I don't know. I don't know whether that's a product of the time. I don't know whether times have changed and come on more, and I've grown up more as a person. But even now in my adolescence, I think looking back at my teenage self, I don't think I would have gained from this what this movie was trying to represent. I still think I would have probably sat there and been like, that was fucking stupid, man.
Yeah, there is one bit that I do want to address that actually did make me laugh. I shared a reel of it, and that is the closing moments of this movie. We haven't really given much context to what happens in this movie. Like, honestly, it's not worth your time to go and watch it, in my opinion. But the bit at the end, go and watch the end credits. In fact, better, go and watch my reel on Instagram because the views would help. I want to talk about the Warwick Davis.
I come from the land of the Irish Spring. Dublin's the place where I learned my thing. From the Emerald Isle to your place in the hood, I'm the man of green, come to do no good. Left in the hood, come to do no good. Left in the hood, come to do no good.
I want. Why are you like getting down to that as if it's a thing? Like you're actually enjoying that beat.
I like that end rap. That was the moment where I just went. The producers of this movie went, "This is shit. We know it's shit. Let's just make Warwick Davis rap at the end and hypnotize some girls, and yeah, we'll just end the movie there with him happy owning the strip club. We're never coming back for another one." I think that's what it was. Like that end montage, I was like, "What's going on? Is he going to kill someone? Is this going to lead into the next move? The credits are rolling. Why are the credits rolling? Why is he still rapping?" And it just left me like, okay. But I laughed.
So I'd seen your reel. You'd posted that reel on Instagram, and I'd like, "Oh man, this looks fucking brilliant. I'm in for a proper riot here." No, because that's not the context of the movie in the slightest. That's what I was gearing myself up for, thinking this is going to be brilliant. But that's the end credit sequence. Yeah. And in context, after watching the 90 minutes that came before it, it's fucking dog shit, man. It's the most embarrassing thing ever. That was the moment where I looked on this film and I was like, "Oh, Warwick, why are you doing this to yourself, man?" He gets picked up by like 3 strippers from a podium to held onto a stage because he's too small to walk, so he needed help. And it's just like, "Oh, this is bad, man. Don't do this. You're a person, you know. You're an actual person with feelings, and you're being so degraded in this movie. Don't do it."
Yeah. Shall we take a break? Because I don't know what else to say.
Fuck this film, man.
Okay.
When you finish this episode, why not head over to yourunpodcast.com and check out some other shows. For some additional horror content, Podcast in the Woods is a great destination. Hosted by Gabby and Boomer, this horror movie review show boasts regular guests and honest opinions. Highly entertaining and at times hilariously funny, Podcast in the Woods is top-tier horror content. Or why not check in for some super nostalgic moments with Pop Culture Reflections podcast. This show is hosted by Justin and covers everything that has influenced pop culture in every decade. Films, music, TV shows, and professional wrestling all make regular appearances along with fabulous guests. This show is a must-listen. These and many other incredible shows all available at yourunpodcast.com. Your home of awesome entertainment.
I like that.
It's cool, isn't it? Please go and check out yourunpodcast.com. Check out the network members. We have new members that aren't on the site yet that are coming. We've announced the first one today, which is the Under the Floorboards podcast. We've got 3 more to announce. So the network is growing. There's awesome shows on there already. Awesome shows coming. yourunpodcast.com. While you're there, why don't you go and browse the merchandise that we have? Because then when you're looking at the merchandise, you will know exactly what you want when you win our draw. So all you need to do is drop a comment on this episode on Spotify and you're in the draw. You could win 3 pieces of merchandise. And we've got some really cool stuff on there. Like we've got the Colonel Cockring t-shirt. We have the Oozing Daddy Vibes t-shirt. We have the We Say Gay and We Slay t-shirt. We also have true crime stuff like Heather's t-shirt. And we have a whole host of other things as well. And me and Mark can wear these if we try. There we go. I wore mine. Mark's not wearing his t-shirt. There we go. Stylish. So go and do that. We have messages. We got a few messages this week. You had a few last week, and you said some things which may have elicited responses from several people. We're going to start with
a weird week last week. I just want to apologise now because I don't know what's coming, but I feel like I'm going to get it in the neck. I had been out prior to recording. It was a Christmas festival in our town, so we'd gone out. We'd had some drinks with some friends, and you know how it is. You have a couple, you get a bit giddy, you have a few more, and then I came in and felt pretty sober. I was like, "Oh yeah, cool, man. Let's go record the show." So I had a few more. By the time we got to the end of Candyman, I was fucking blasted. I don't know if that picked up on the episode or not, but we finished.
I knew. So when we went off the air on the last episode, Mark got a bout of the hiccups that was so bad he had to leave the call because he couldn't stop hiccuping.
That was the wildest hiccup thing I've ever had in my life. Like I couldn't get out. It wasn't one of those ones where you're like mid-sentence and you like get halfway through a sentence, it's hiccup. I couldn't get a word out. It was like an AK-47 of hiccups. And I was like, dude, I can't talk to you anymore. I have to leave. And I ended.
What you done was you went, dude, I go. I walked out of my office crying with laughter at how bad you were. Other people didn't see that or hear that bit, and they had things to say after some of the comments you made after your Christmas festival. We're going to start with your arch nemesis, who you basically said that he needs to up his game.
Brilliant.
No, Mark, you naive child. You think that I'm done with you? You think that you can just walk away and get tormented by somebody else? You haven't even begun to see the depths of the hell that I'm gonna put you through. Buckle up. You're in for one hell of a ride.
And I encouraged that.
You did. You also claimed that Dave was your new tormentor, and Dave also called.
Hey guys, great show as usual. Love the fact you chucked in Candyman for obvious reasons. I was a little bit gutted that Hollywood Hookers has been pushed past, I won't lie. But this is actually a message for Eric. And Eric, I just want to know the plan, mate. Are we going to work shifts like week on, week off? Or are we going to team up and tag teams Mark-ass Ghostface style?
Why? No, there is no tag teaming. I don't need two of you. Like you can just pick one. Pick one of you who can just take the lead. Eric's been here the longest, so Dave, just take a back seat, and I think we'll just continue with Eric for a little bit. There's no joining forces in any way, shape, or form.
It's like a coalition against Mark. I laughed so hard when I got that voicemail. So hard.
It's like the listeners are forming a parliament. What are you guys doing to me?
Dave wasn't done. Dave rung back because I also said that we'd be auditioning for your replacement after your vile comments.
It's me again, the powers of recording a message halfway through listening to a show. Scott, if you ever want to do a Terminator 2, a Godfather 2, the sequel where they're better than the original, I'm always up for replacing Mark.
Wow.
So he's coming for your job as well.
Fucking hell. Wow, that's a statement, man. Jesus.
moving on from that, you continued your offensive barrage, and you were upset. You upset Heather, but Heather dealt with you in the group chat.
She did.
Quite viciously in the group chat, to the point that you messaged me one-to-one and went, "What did I say? Heather's well pissed off."
Mate, I even went out of my way to message Heather separately and apologize, even though I couldn't remember what I'd said. I couldn't remember the context, and there was a point of me in the group chat where I was like, she's just pulling my leg. I haven't actually said anything, because I would remember. But yeah, dude, I was genuinely concerned that I'd said something that really upset her. So I messaged you to check what I'd done, and I also messaged Heather to be like, I don't know what I've done, but I'm really, really sorry.
But we did make Heather our official IMDb. No, it's not. It's Internet Movie Heather Database. It's an IMHDB. That's what she is. We asked a question. Yeah, we'll have to think of something better. But Heather answered our question in a long form audio message.
Okay, guys, so I'm listening to the Candyman episode, and I was going to see if I could try to answer Mark's question, even though I'm not done with the episode, about how he thinks he always saw Helen basically being proven innocent, that she didn't kill the psychiatrist, which we know she did not because it was Candyman. So the TV footage that they show is from the night before when she was being brought in. Of course, she looks like a crazy person because you cannot see Candyman. He's not visible to everyone else. And so she looks nuts. And so as the psychiatrist is showing her that, when they're in the office, he just doesn't believe her. He thinks, well, she's a lunatic. She's crazy. And so I think you're maybe just misremembering, just because there is never any shots, at least not anything I remember, and I've seen this movie 6,000 times. There's never any shots of her being shown innocent, quote unquote. The CCTVs are not running while they're in the office, while he's talking to her. So that what you see in the office is what the viewers, as us, that's what we see. So I don't know if that helps, but basically I kind of get you misremembering it because it kind of seems like that, but it's not exactly what happens. It's just that she calls him. He comes. Obviously, he kills the psychiatrist, but he also comes to release Helen so she can escape because he needs her to be his victim. You guys were talking about how, what his fascination was with Helen. Yeah, she does resemble his love from when, back in the day. But also, in order for the Candyman to continue, basically, he needed a victim. And that is why he chose her. But that is also why she saves the baby at the end, because she basically trades off. Like he had the baby, but she decided to be like, I'm going to save the baby and I'll be your victim, which is why she comes back as an interpretation of him at the end and kills Trevor. Anyway, that's my perception on it. Again, I don't think there's never been anything shown where it would prove Helen's innocence, because I just don't believe the CCTV stuff was running while she was in the psychiatrist's office. Anyways, guys, sorry for the rant, but I'm going to continue listening. Bye.
I mean, fucking hell, Heather, wrap it up. Jesus Christ.
Don't do it again.
No, I'm joking. I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
If it makes you feel any better, though, you're not the only one who thinks that footage exists. So we got a comment on Spotify from Fatback Supreme, and they said, your co-host is not wrong, Scott. I talked about the CCTV footage in our podcast, to which then made me question. So I went and done the research. I went and watched an uncut version of Candyman, which I had to pay for, which annoyed me because I couldn't find it anywhere else. It's not in there. No, it's not in there. So I then went on a Google search to find out if this is a thing. There are so many arguments on message boards like Reddit and things like that of people arguing exactly this. There is no footage in that psychiatrist's office shown in any edit or any version of Candyman. It is actually a modern day Mandela effect where multiple people remember something that actually didn't happen, which I thought was incredible.
That is incredible. That is incredible because that is a true Mandela effect. Because I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that I have seen somewhere a version of this where people are watching the CCTV footage of the interaction between Helen and Candyman, and her straps just miraculously break free.
Yep,
And I'm not
there's
saying that the
lots.
whole movie, like what Heather was saying regarding like the Heather that Helen's innocence is prevailed at the end. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that that comes to fruition throughout the movie. I just have a vision in my mind where there's people watching CCTV footage of the office of the guy just dying out of nowhere with a hook coming through his chest like a chest burster scene, and then Helen's straps just break free. And I don't know. I like we spoke about it in the group chat, and I was like, I don't know if I'm remembering a similar scene from another movie that's taken the same sort of concept, and I can't
but you're
remember
not
the movie
alone.
that it's from.
There's
And
other people.
That's what's wild.
Yeah, like I've seen things on message board where people have said literally exactly what you've just said. So the only CCTV footage they ever shot was of her when she's brought into the mental institute or the psych ward,
Yeah,
and
and
she's
he's
strapped
floating
to the
above the
bed.
bed.
Yeah, that's the only CCTV footage they ever shot from anything I can find. So unless someone can actually produce that footage, put it up on one of your socials and tag me, I'm saying now it doesn't exist, and I'm kind of with everything I can find. So that is, modern day Mandela effect.
Which is wild. I've never actually seen, like, I've heard of the Mandela effect before, and I've been like, ha ha ha, you hippies, you know. But like that in its context, there is genuinely, I think, what's happened. You know?
It really is. We also got another comment on that episode from You Run Podcast Network member, fabulous VHS collector, fabulous guy, does loads of stuff on YouTube. Video Tasties. Gareth commented, surely Trevor is the hero in this film. See how he looks and the tail he gets? Question mark.
I don't get that.
I think he's saying that Trevor's a hero to all ugly men because Trevor can get some hot ass.
Well, I mean, he certainly does. Certainly does.
Yeah, but he's still the
I
bad
don't know
guy,
if he should be celebrated as a hero.
No.
I don't know what your inspirations in life are, Gareth, but this probably shouldn't be your role model.
No, it definitely shouldn't. We're going to use our flute now, the same as the Leprechaun does, to keep you all engaged and into the episode. So here you go.
See, you're killing me, man. I immediately want to go watch Lord of the Rings now.
It's too late for you to start Lord of the Rings now.
It's never, ever too late to start Lord. I could put on, do you know what? I could put on Fellowship of the Ring right now, and I could be that engaged 12 hours later, extended cut, because if you're going to do it, you do it properly. And I would still be there for Return of the King. At like Sunday afternoon, been like that.
If you start the Lord of the Rings trilogy now, you will finish just in time to start next week's episode. I'll just keep this running and we'll go straight into next week's recording.
And do you know what? It would be the best week of my life. It really would.
Let's do caption this. So I showed you at the beginning of the episode, we asked everybody to caption this image. Wait, behind the scene shot of Warwick Davis being shown how to use a bong because he's unfamiliar with bongs and had to be shown how to use it, which is bizarre because he never uses one in the movie.
I was going to say, like, the context of that in terms of the film, there is no bong in this movie.
There is no bong in this movie. Lady Crisis come with, well, I'm going to let Warwick Davis say what Lady Crisis come with.
A friend with weed is a friend indeed.
Which is fabulous. That's Lady Crisis, excellent creator over on TikTok and on Instagram. It's Lady Crisis 7. Go and give her a follow. BJ Mumbo went with, they always after me lucky bongs.
Nice.
He's a YouTuber, really cool guy as well. AMPFX Studios. This is Alex, who's made the movie Elevator Pictures, which we've got a review up on our YouTube of. When the leader of the Lollipop Guild fell on hard times, I laughed a lot. We've got The Sickness Horror, Time to Get High, Little Man, and they're a horror account. And finally, 80s horror style, for me, I think wins it. And you say you found this pot at the other side of the rainbow.
Nice.
Very good. And they create AI horror covers for movies that don't exist. Go and check out their page. It's one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. So they feed AI bots with loads of information about what their movie is going to be, and it creates a DVD or a VHS cover. Some of the covers for these movies, I want to see the film just based off the cover. They look so cool.
Man, you're getting very into AI at the moment. Like you're like an advocate. Like you are going to be the downfall of society. You're like pro Skynet at the minute. It's a bit weird.
See, the way I see AI is it is a useful tool to assist and help things move forward. There are things that AI will never be able to do because it's just not capable. So, like, I see AI in, I don't know, in 5 years' time, if you wanted to do a Leprechaun meets Jason Voorhees, there'd be enough data for AI to create you a short movie with the Leprechaun, with Jason Voorhees. And it's going to be a bit wonky, but it will put you together a movie with the information it's got. What AI is not good at is creating fresh content.
No, what AI is not good at doing right now is creating fresh content. But when it evolves and it manifests, it will be that capable. Like we are hitting, we are like the Nokia 3210 era of AI at the moment.
We are.
You know, when we get to like the iPhone 16 level of AI in 10 years' time, we're going to be sat here having a similar conversation in our bunkers, and you're going to be like, "Oh fuck, man! Like, oh, I really wish I wasn't such an advocate for this shit."
The thing is, when it reaches that point, I probably will have submitted to my overlords, and I'll be Gladys' sex slave, and I'll just accept that's my life. Let's do some facts. There aren't many for this because when you get a movie of this sort of budget with this sort of quality, not many facts come out because, if I'm honest, people just don't care enough to produce any facts, and this includes the cast and crew. This is the first movie in the Leprechaun franchise where Warwick Davis is not the sole top billing. So he shares the top billing above the title with himself and Ice-T. This film was filmed almost exclusively in the back of a disused theatre because they had no money. After they paid Warwick Davis and Ice-T, they had about £8.50 to make this film.
And it shows.
It does. They had to stop filming for 24 hours because Warwick Davis come down with a chronic case of flatulence.
What?
He farted for almost 24 hours and they kept picking it up on the mics to the point that the director went, "We'll just come back when you're not farting all the time, please." A whole
that is
day
the weirdest
down.
fact we have had on this show in the entire 2 years I've been here.
The thing is, though, you imagine he's doing that final scene. I come from an island of an island. Cut. Just go again. Like, that's probably they should have kept that in because that I would have laughed at.
Yeah, most probably. That would have probably got a chuckle from me as well.
Warwick Davis was nominated for an award for this at the Video Business Video Premiere Award for Best Actor in Direct-to-Release Video. He didn't win, but he was nominated. How much do you reckon this cost to make?
2.5 million.
No, this cost 1.4 million. And in truth, I can't see where they spent that.
I mean, I can see where the money's gone. Certainly.
Yeah, in Ice-T's pocket. Like, look at the gold they've got. It looks like they would have bought it at Poundland. Like the gold is
Yeah, this
clearly
is
plastic.
very true.
All the jewelry, like his big medallion and his flute, they're clearly just like a plastic
Spray
toy out of
painted
a
bit of plastic.
out of like an expensive Christmas cracker. They're awful.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's pop. It's pop.
we don't know how much money this made, but I do know that it will have made at least twice its budget because it was greenlit for a sequel less than 12 months later because they made a ton of money.
So what comes after this? Is this Leprechaun Back to the Hood?
Yeah, but Back to the Hood, and then there's, I think after that it's the reboot, which is Leprechaun, which was 2013, I think.
And then Leprechaun Reborn, I think I've seen pop
Yeah,
up on Amazon Prime.
after that. Still my favourite, I think, is Lep in Space.
Yeah, I see. That's what we should have done. We should have done Lep in Space because I feel like that's the one that I would have enjoyed. This, no.
Yeah, stupidly, even in space, he didn't have Darth Vader powers.
Which would have made more sense.
It really would. I'm going to let you round this up first.
I mean, I'll keep it as brief as shit, man. This is not going to take long at all. I thought this movie was absolutely garbage. Look, look with your little clicky mouse thing and your little side-scrolling things that you've got going on right now. Like, I like the new feature you had going earlier, and I thought that was really cool. But now you're using it against me again. And like, what's the point, dude?
For anyone who's just listening, there's a banner that's just appeared on the bottom of the screen that says, "Please stick with us. This may take a while." I'll take that away. As you said, just quick.
For once, it actually won. I didn't like this movie. I thought it was garbage. I didn't find any of the jokes or the humor relatable. I felt embarrassed for Warwick Davis throughout a majority of the movie. Yeah, it didn't resonate with me on any level. I found it insulting in many places. And again, that's not on a Karen level or like, oh, this movie is derogatory of many people and many races. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that it's insulting on that level. For me,
it is, but
I didn't take offense to it to that level. And considering I don't take things offensive on that level in many instances, that just kind of shows the level of immaturity. Immaturity is probably the best way to describe this movie. The target audience for this is 11 to 12-year-olds. It's just stupid, and the jokes that are there, people will probably, if they are that age, will laugh at because they don't quite understand them. But then when they reach an age where they do understand them, they'll probably be like, that's not even funny. I don't know. I was just pissed off with the 90 minutes I spent wasting my time watching this film. And if anything, it's just tainted my whole opinion of the Leprechaun franchise as a whole. I've got nothing really positive to say about this movie. I had a chuckle here and there, but the cult status that this has garnered over the years, I don't understand in any way, shape, or form. And I'm really intrigued from the listeners to call in and let me know why this is such a highly regarded movie within this franchise. And not just within this franchise, just within horror in general. I know that this comes up quite a lot for a lot of people. People talk about it all the time. And I'm like,
it's really loved. It's really loved.
It is, and I don't get it.
So like when I put the reel out, like the reel of him dancing, like the closing credits of this movie, there were so many people who commented, oh, "I love this movie. It's such a classic. Oh, it's so funny." And like, I'd seen it when I put that reel out, and I'm reading the comments going, "Really? But
yeah,
you sure? Is it the same movie?" Maybe people are getting it confused with Back to the Hood, because Back to the Hood is infinitely better, much less offensive across the board, with a bigger budget, and it is a much better movie where the Leprechaun has some kind of narrative and story. He's not just running around he's not trying to be a gangster rapper from the 90s. He's not trying to fuck bitches, smoke weed, drink 40s and shoot people. Like the second one's better.
I personally, coming out the back of this, I cannot see it. I'll have to take your word for it because I'll never watch it unless it comes up on the show and I have to. But for me, yeah, I just thought this was utter garbage, absolute waste of time. I'm really disappointed that we're rounding off our no trash November kind of theme that we're doing with such a such a disappointing movie because, like, I like this kind of genre of film, and I thought we could have had some heavy hitting bangers to round it off with something that just genuinely pissed me off. Like, I was annoyed by the time I'd finished it. I was like, oh, fucking hell, like, this is just annoying. Like, what we actually going to say about this piece of shit that we can discuss and dive into and have a decent kind of conversation about. And I didn't get any of that from this film. I feel like I wasted my time, dude. I'll be honest with you. I fucking wasted my time on this film, and I'm pissed off that I did.
What are you going to score it?
It's a 0.5 out of 5. That's the lowest I can go. I really dislike this film a lot. It was
Wow. This movie is, like I said at the beginning, it's so culturally racial, sex. There is no one in this movie they didn't set out to offend. And I don't know if that was their intention or just the fact it was incredibly shit writing with incredibly bad production by it. But it is so offensive across the board.
I don't think that was their intention. I don't think they set out to offend people. I think they'd taken so many movies that came out in this era that were handling the comedic level of this sort of...
Yeah.
What do you even refer to it as when you talk? How do you refer to like the ghetto comedy of this time period without sounding offensive?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't think ghetto comedy is the correct term.
Well, no, I definitely don't think it is either. But that's kind of what I'm meaning. Is like the whole Friday movies and
don't drink juice in the hood
How High and things. Like they handled that very well. Like that was written by the Wayans brothers. And people like Ice Cube and things like that. Like they get it. It's relatable to them. I feel like this was written by a white dude.
It was. This was written by
right.
It was written by 4 or 5 middle-aged white guys.
Right, and that makes more sense than anything that we've discussed about this entire movie. This was written by white dudes trying to be relevant, and it's fucking not.
The thing is, though, they had Ice-T on set. Surely there must have been a point where Ice-T went, look, let me holler at you. Like, this is shit. What the fuck are you doing? And Ice-T says
because I feel like he only got pages for his lines. And when he delivered his lines, he was on point. Like, he was relevant. He was the only decent thing about it.
He was.
Like, don't show him the rest of the script. Please don't show him the rest of the script because he won't sign on for it.
Like, beyond Ice-T, everyone in this is bad. It's badly representative. Warwick Davis, I've seen many times in interviews get agitated when people aren't represented properly, and it bugged me that he let all of those morals go when the paycheck was big enough for him to just go, yeah, well, in this occasion, because I need the work, I'll do it. It irritated me slightly, and it's changed my perspective of someone who I thought was a really cool dude. Yeah. This movie's shit. The story's shit. The kills are shit. The acting and the effects are also shit. I laughed incredibly hard, but I was laughing at the movie. I was laughing almost like a cringe laugh, like, oh, they're not going to do... Oh, my God, they done that. It was that kind of laughter that it's like, I can't believe at any point anyone stood there and watched this back in the editing room and went, do you know what? We've made an absolute banger here. This is going to be the biggest thing ever. And I don't get it. It's a 1 out of 5 from me. I won't watch this again unless I absolutely have to.
No, never again for me. Never. Even if I have to, I'll refuse.
Next week, we move into a new themed month. So themed months are now going to be our thing. And as it is December, our themed month is going to be Christmas. Yeah.
I'm ready. The lights are up. As you can see, the lights are up. I'm going. The Christmas tree is coming out tomorrow. So even if you're 3 days behind, my Christmas tree is going up tomorrow. End of November.
I can do Christmas lighting out. My actual Christmas lights aren't out here yet, but I can make it Christmassy. Yeah. So
I
I
like
have.
that. I like that. I need to get a remote control set up in here. That looks cool. Now,
Yeah,
now
I
you've
don't.
just got all yellow. Like that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why that's happened. Oh, now I'm green. Now I'm blue.
You look like you're on the Alien Romulus set. What are you doing?
I'll stay blue because for some reason it's not going back to what I had it on. So, hey, I'm blue. I'm blue for the rest of the episode. We also have the return of a guest, which because we have the return of a guest, it means we have the return of this. And our guest is going to get incredibly irate during that game.
Boy.
I can see it coming a mile away. Not going to tell you who the guest is yet, but the guest who is joining us is our most listened to episode of 2023 when he joined us last time. We are reviewing Christmas Evil. I will tell you that.
Yes,
And
this is one of my favorite Christmas movies, and I only discovered this last year. Spoiler alert, I'm going to give high praise for the film next week.
Yeah, and I like it as well. And I thought it was worth mentioning it because then you don't message me on Tuesday and ask me what you're watching on Wednesday.
I genuinely, the whole time you was doing the whole setup, then the whole ambiguous, oh, we've got a guest, it's Christmas season. I'm like, shit, what are we doing next week? So the fact that you've just done that now is very good. Thank you.
We also have some really good movies coming in. Well, I say good movies, we haven't reviewed them yet, but we've got some really big Christmas episodes coming. I'm working on something at the moment. I'm not going to say too much, but if it comes off, we've got a very special episode at Christmas. And that's about it. Thank you very much for listening. You're all wonderful. And we'll be back next week with the start of Christmas. So until then, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you all next week.
Ho, 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 bitches.
Ho, 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 bitches. Fuck, we're ending with jokes now as well.
You want to die tonight?
Jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too.